Three of the top four women's players bit the dust in the Stuttgart quarterfinals, notably Iga Swiatek and Coco Gauff. I'll talk about whether Iganators and Coco Puffs should be concerned by these performances, plus highlight an interesting moment during Aryna Sabalenka's match. And I'll also briefly preview Sunday's men's finals in Munich and Barcelona. Hey, I'm Christian Bass Knight, and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you have not yet already, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post my next update video, which should come very, very soon after this one. So yes, the big story of the day was Jelena Ostapenko extending her lopsided head-to-head against Iga Swiatek to 6-0 after she beat the world's number 2, 6-3, 3-6, 6-2. This was their first meeting on clay, so many people thought that it would be Iga's chance finally to get her lick back over Jelena, but I knew that Jelena was going to win this one, especially after she got that impressive second round win over Emma Navarro. Iga also just did not look that impressive in her opening round win over Jana Fett. Also, even though Iga is a two-time champion here in Stuttgart, this is indoors, which even further favors bigger hitters like on Ostapenko. And Iga had a very shaky start to this one. It was very jarring, in fact, because she didn't make a single first serve in the court in her opening game. She hit 2 double faults, which helped Ostapenko break 4-3 love lead. And Jelena also broke, again, later on for a 4-love lead too. But that first game right there exemplifies the mental dynamics of this matchup, like how Coco felt with Iga early on in their rivalry, or how Sharapova probably felt against Serena. When you have lost against someone so many times, you ultimately just don't have the confidence or the belief that you can actually beat them, and Iga didn't. You can visibly see she didn't have that at all. But this head-to-head dynamic is a bit unusual because Iga is more accomplished compared to Jelena. But the first serve nerves were there because Iga knew that Jelena would be all on top of that and try to blast a return winner, which she did sometimes. The thing is, Jelena didn't really serve that well for much of the match, and in the first set she only served 48% of her first serves in, and she won just 54% of points behind the first serve, but still that was good enough for her to grab the opener 6-3. In the second set, Ostapenko started misfiring a lot more, and Iga just remained steadier of the two and was less air prone. Jelena also continued to have problems with her serve, which only hurt her more and helped Iga and enabling her to flip the script. Now the third set was eerily similar to the first set in that Ostapenko took advantage of a plethora of Iga's second serve looks, and she broke first for a 3-love lead. Even though the third set scoreline was pretty, lopsided 6-2, Iga had a solid chance to really take it, in my opinion. Jelena was still very vulnerable on her serve, but Iga helped the Latvian a lot with quite a few return errors. I think it was just a matter of mistiming it and also just pressing a little bit too much. I think Iga would have done well to kind of take a step back and given herself more time and a greater chance to just put the ball back in the court and actually make Ostapenko play instead of just gifting her errors and letting her off the hook, because scoreboard pressure is very important. And I think that during that time, like later in the third set or just throughout most of the third set, Jelena was still not all the way there on her ground game, but Iga was able to kind of let her breathe with those return errors. The 4-2 game, I think, in the third set really decided this match for real, because Iga had a lot of second serve looks, and she even had a break point which she fumbled with a wide open backhand down line return that sailed long. Iga had no business not breaking at least once in this deciding set, not only because Swiatek has the reputation of having one of the best returns on tour, but again, Ostapenko was not 100% in the slightest in the third set, but neither was Iga, and again, that's why she lost. Really, the biggest takeaway from this match was just the lack of aura Iga has right now. Like, just even looking at her, she looked like she was the lower ranked player. She looked like she only had 1 slam compared to 5 slams. Like, she just didn't really have the aura of being a top 2 player. And again, that has to do with the matchup and her never beating Jelena, and that was definitely playing on her mind, I feel. But also, I still think for sure that Zhang Olympics loss that she suffered last year and that tight Australian Open semifinals loss to Madison Keys, it definitely did a number on her. I feel like these losses continually keep denting at Iga's confidence, and I feel like this is a bad loss for Swiatek. Even though, of course, the odds weren't in her favor head-to-head wise, it was still winnable in my opinion, and I think this was a big missed opportunity because this could have been the catalyst to Iga's season turning around, and again, she had an opportunity to do it. She even mentioned in her post-match post-match press conference that her chances were there, but she just could not capitalize on them. Now, it's still early in the clay season. It's only the first tournament. And last year, Iga didn't win Stuttgart either. She lost in the semifinals to Jelena Ostapenko before she went on to win Madrid, Rome, and Roland Garros. So maybe she can do the same this year. I just wouldn't be surprised really if Iga didn't take home a title on the clay this season. I'm not saying that she won't, because I think that she will at least win one, but I just don't think the confidence right now is there. And that's such a huge factor, of course, and when you're talking about the best of the best players here. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how she does for the rest of the clay swing. She has so many points to defend. So again, I'm very intrigued to see what could happen. If she doesn't perform well and go deep at these tournaments, she could possibly fall outside the top 5 maybe. So I also have to give Ostapenko credit, of course. She played a solid match. Again, like I've been saying, it wasn't her best. I think she played better against Emma Navarro. That was I think that was the match of the tournament thus far for me. It was really good. But the fact that she was able to beat Iga not quite on her A level, she didn't play as well as she did against Navarro, that's just, yeah, that shows how impressive she is and just how dominant this head-to-head is in her favor. Up next for Jelena is another big hitter in Ekaterina Alexandrova, who dominated Jessica Pegula 6-love, 6-4. This wasn't surprising at all to me. I predicted Alexandrova to actually make the final before this tournament even started. And even though Pegula did beat Ekaterina in the last tournament, Charleston, that was a tight 3-setter that Ekaterina really could have / should have won. So with this being indoors, the favor was even more into the Russians. So not surprising. Now, I did say that Alexandrova would make the final, so I'm going to be sticking with her, and I'll have her beat Ostapenko to make the championship. Now, Pegula, of course, was not the only American to fall in Stuttgart, as Coco Gauff was defeated by Jasmine Paolini 6-4, 6-3 in the quarterfinals. This was an interesting outcome because Coco started this match very, very well. It was some of the best tennis we saw from her in a minute, and she broke right off the bat. She was very consistent from the ground, hit with solid pace and good depth on her shots, and she led Jasmine 4-2, 30-love, and had a few small looks in that game to go up a double break, but she just could not cash in on them. And in the 4-3 game, Coco wasn't able to basically get any free or easy points on her serve, which enabled Paolini to get more on the upper hand in the rallies, which she did. And Paolini's baseline prowess is very underrated in my opinion. And I even came across somebody saying that she was a pusher, which I completely disagree with, because whenever she gets a shorter ball, or not even a shorter ball, whenever she gets a ball that's not deep, that she can't take advantage of, she takes advantage. And Jasmine, she broke to level at 4-all, and I think that was a big turning point in this match, in my opinion. And from this point on, Coco's level started to dip considerably, and she just wasn't as consistent from the ground as she was to start this match. And she missed routine shots, even from that backhand wing, which is supposed to be the more reliable shot for her. And Coco, she really crumpled in that 4-5 game where she lost her serve to lose the opening set. She had 2 poor unforced errors as well as 2 double faults to give that set to Paolini. Now, Jasmine, on the other hand, she definitely elevated her level a bit higher, and she seemed in control of many of the points thanks to that big forehand in particular. And she also did well to combine her power from the forehand wing with finesse, throwing in a couple of drop shots, which really tripped up the American. The main issue for Coco in the second set to me was that she just could not hold her serve, and she got broken in her first service game of the second set, but she immediately broke back only to lose serve again, and that cycle repeated itself. And again, Coco didn't do herself any favors by not having a strong, consistent first serve. And also, she just missed her mark from the ground too whenever she was really supposed to lock in a little bit more. And I understand her pressing more because Paolini is a sound ball striker and was taking advantage of a lot of those shorter replies that Gauff threw up at her. But Coco's only really good service game in that second set was her last, when she was down 2-5. And that to me tells me a lot, because it shows that the nerves and the pressure, it's a thing for Coco. I feel like that holds her back. Coco is not a good front runner. She really has struggled with that a lot in her career. And I feel like if she was a solid front runner, she would have won the first set. But she doesn't do as well whenever things are tight or whenever she's in the lead. And I feel like that's been reflected in a lot of these losses. Whenever she's down, she plays better. But whenever things start to get back competitive again, she doesn't really meet the occasion. I think it's a mental thing with her. Now, Paolini, got to give her credit. Again, she played a great match, and that's a tough opponent for anyone. She's, of course, top 10, and she's top 10 for a reason. She showed that today because people were talking ill on her name, and she showed out and she played a good match, a very good match. But I don't think she was unbeatable. At the bare minimum, Coco could have won a set, or maybe should have won a set at least, the first set to be exact. But again, she was not able to rise to the occasion, and ultimately the momentum completely shifted in Jasmine's favor. Talking about where Coco can improve on in her game, I already mentioned the serve. That's one of the bigger things. And even though it is clay, I think her placement on the first serves could be a lot better. A lot of times she was kind of just kicking it kind of into the middle of the box and not really getting a good direction on it and taking as many chances. Also, I think the return, it was a little bit hit or miss. I understand her trying to be more aggressive on that front, and that comes with, the misses in the territory. I'm not too mad about the returns, though. Coco, though, I don't think she used her forehand cross enough to really open the court enough for her at all. Paolini doesn't have as long of a wingspan, and I think that's one thing Iga did a great job of in the Roland Garros final. Use her forehand angle or cross to kind of get that forehand tailing wider out of Paolini's strike zone and get her off the court and then take advantage. Whenever Coco did it a few times, she won the point. I don't think she did it enough at all in this match. I also think Gauff could have done a better job of taking more to the net, charging forward, because even though it's clay, she can use her athleticism and sound net skills to win points a different way, especially whenever her forehand is a little bit on the shaky side. Overall, I don't think this was a bad loss for Coco. Again, Paolini is very good, so I'm not really surprised that she lost. But also, Coco wasn't that high on confidence herself coming into this match, and she has never really performed well in Stuttgart. And the thing with Coco that fans have to maybe come to terms with is that I don't think she's that player, at least right now, that's going to bring it consistently year round. There are going to be times where she does well, and then there's tournaments where she just struggles. And talking about those tournaments, I think the Middle East, especially Doha, she struggled a lot recently. Miami, she has never made it past the quarterfinals, or she's never made the quarterfinals. Stuttgart, she has never made the semifinals. Madrid, she has never made the quarterfinals, so don't be surprised if she struggles there too. Up next for Jasmine here is Aryna Sabalenka, who had a moment of controversy in her 6-4, 6-1 win over her former doubles partner, Elisa Mertens. At 3-all in the opening set, Sabalenka hit a swing forehand volley down break point, which looked like it clipped the line, but it was called out by a line judge. The chair umpire came down and also ruled the shot to be out, which Sabalenka clearly did not agree with, as during the changeover, she stood by the mark in annoyance and even got her phone from a team member to take a picture of the mark. And I think she posted this on her private IG, but the mark does seem to clip the line. I don't know. However, the umpire was not here for Aryna's antics, and she gave the world number one a warning for unsportsmanlike conduct. And Sabalenka, she seemingly used that edgy moment to her own good, because from then on, she won the next 9 of 10 games to reach the semifinals. This was a great effort from Sabalenka, because this was her very first match of the week due to her second-round opponent, Anastasia Potapova, retired or withdrawing from the tournament, and due to Good Friday, they did not play their as-scheduled quarterfinal matchups yesterday. So for this also to be her first match on the red clay in almost a year and to play this well, that's a scary sign for the rest of the field. And I think that also Sabalenka, with how she's been incorporating more variety and more kick serves, she's going to be, I think right now, the favorite to do the most damage during the clay swing this year. I picked Aryna to win the tournament before the tournament started, so I'm going to be sticking with her, and I'm going to have her defeat Paolini. I do think this match will be more competitive than their Miami semifinal, which Sabalenka won 2-2, but I still think Aryna will be too tough. Now, talking about the men, first in Munich, Ben Shelton, he reached his first final of the season, downing Francisco Cerundolo 2-6, 7-6, 6-4 to make the championship in Germany. Ben is actually the first American man to make a clay final above 250 level since Andre Agassi in 2002, when Andre captured the Rome title, which is absolutely insane. Ben was close to losing in the first round, to be honest, as he fought off 3 match points against Borna Gojo, and he was also close to biting the dust in the semifinal against Cerundolo, as he was a couple points from defeat a few times, and he also recovered from an early break deficit in the third set, but Ben was just too tough. And Cerundolo, he does have the reputation, I feel, of being a little bit of a choke artist, so that's something he needs to get over for sure. Now, the finals in Munich will be a battle of the top 2 seeds as Alexander Zverev dispatched of Fabian Marozsan in straight sets in the second semifinal by a score of 7-6, 6-3. Zverev and Shelton played one time before. That was last year in the Cincinnati quarterfinals, with Zverev barely took by a score of 3-6, 7-6, 7-5. So that's a good omen that this one will be competitive as well. However, I'm going to be giving the edge to the German here because the Cincy courts favored Ben a little bit more, with those being faster. I think with the slower clay conditions, Zverev will fare a bit better. He's a little bit of a better defensive player and overall is more consistent. And I think he'll push Ben more on the dirt, who, you know, he's going to be trying to do a lot of, you know, offensive stuff, but the defensive Zverev, I think, will be the outlier in this match. Not to mention, Alex does have more experience and he has the home crowd advantage. Although Ben will probably have his girlfriend Trinity Rodman in his box tomorrow, so maybe he'll come out with his best performance of the week to try to impress her, so we'll see. Now, if Zverev does win this title, he gives himself a chance at regaining the world #2 ranking from Carlos Alcaraz, who must win the Barcelona final to even have a shot. Alcaraz, though, will be the favorite to win his second straight title after Monte Carlo, as he dominated Artur Fils 6-2, 6-4 in the semifinals. I said that Carlos needs to play better in Barcelona than he did in Monte Carlo to have a chance to win this title, and he's done just that. I think Carlos just really enjoys playing here at home, and he's going for his 3rd title in Barcelona, and he's won 20 consecutive sets here. Holger Rune, though, his finals opponent, will not be a pushover. The Dane has looked very good this week, dispatching of Ruud 4-2 in the quarterfinals, followed by Khachanov 3-2 in the semis. These two have not played since the 2023 Wimbledon quarterfinals, which Carlos won in straight sets, although it was a competitive straight sets one, 7-6, 6-4, 6-4. Rune, he has not won a title in exactly 2 years, and he has not won a set in his last 3 finals, so that's a little bit of a factor too. So with all of that, I'll pick Alcaraz to win this one. I'll say in 3 sets. That's all I have for this one. Let me know if you think that Iga will turn it around for the clay swing and win Roland Garros, or if not Roland Garros, Madrid or Rome. And also let me know your thoughts on Coco and where you think that she'll go for the rest of the clay season as well, if you think the best is yet to come for her. Also, again, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you are notified whenever I drop my video tomorrow, recapping the men's finals and also the Stuttgart semifinals. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support, and I'll see you all next time here on Christian's Court.